2008 Summer Olympics Games, the winning team in the men's 100-meter butterfly race was only 1/102nd faster than the second-place time that. What decimal represents the fraction of a second? You can write hundredths as a fraction or decimals.
Okay, so what decimal represents this fraction of a second? 1/100th. You can write hundredths as a fraction or a decimal, and here is one way to do it with a model. So if we have 100, like we would have 100 square, correct? And we shade 1, it would look like that. Go ahead and do yours. If we were to write this, they're divided into 100 equal parts. So think of a penny. A penny is 1/100th. How many pennies make a dollar? 100. So if we were going to write 1/100th, it's like writing a penny. How do you write a penny? 0.01 is how you write a penny. Is that right? You could also write it like this, like we have up here. Okay, and yesterday you learned the place value chart for tenths and hundredths. Or you learned tenths. Hundredths is the next one over. So if this is ones and this is your decimal, here's the tenths and here's the hundredth. You would write the 1 in the hundredths, and then whatever comes before it is a 0 if there's nothing in that one. So you would have 0.01. And we call that, besides a penny or a cent, we would also call that 1/100th. That's how we read it. You guys say it.
100.
You sound way better than I do. Another way, label the number line with the equivalent decimal and locate the 100th place. So here's, if we took this number line and divided it into hundredths, here's the 0 right here, and here's one whole one, like a whole dollar, and we've divided this into hundredths. Okay, when you divide it into hundredths, it makes common sense to do it by tens. So this is 10, this is 20, this is 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Okay? Now, here's our 0.01 right here. It's actually underneath my blue because my blue's so fat. It's right next to the blue line right here. That's the 100th, which looks like 0.01. But when we get to the 10 hundredths, the 1 is going to go, if this is our place value, we have our decimal point here. Here's our ones, right? That's a 0. Here's our tenths. And here's our hundredths. Okay. When we get to the 10 hundredths, if you think about when we did our place value, if we had 10 ones, did we put the 10 ones in the ones place? No, we put a 0 in the ones place and we put the 1 in the tens place because it's 1/10. So if you have a 2-digit number when you're working with decimals and you're going to say 10 hundredths, the 1 is not going to go, it's not going to go like this. Because we only get to have 1 digit there. So it's going to move like this. And it's going to look like this. Now, if you're struggling with that, think about this. Look at the fraction 10 100ths. Can I reduce that? Can I simplify that? Okay, who saw something familiar that's going to help us with this, that if you simplify the fraction, it'll help you out? Rachel. I'm talking about the fraction and simplifying the fraction and using that to help us understand this better. Preston.
1/10. Yeah, 1/10.
So, he said 1/10. So, can you explain what you mean by 1/10? So,
I divided 100 by 10 and 10 by 10.
okay, so he saw that 10 goes into 10. I could divide that. So I could, if I do that, I can simplify it, remember. 10 divided by 10 is 1, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. Now that's 1/10. Does that look like yesterday's assignments?
Yes.
Where you took that 1/10 and it became 0.1. Now when you were working with the sub yesterday, did she tell you you could put as many zeros after that 1 as you want and it still means the same thing?
Yeah.
It's okay, so let me go this way real quick. If I have the number 15, not decimals. I need eyes up here. Put the pencils down. If I have 15 and I put a bunch of zeros in front of it, is it still 15? Is the value still 15?
Yeah.
Yes, it's still 15. The value of this is still 15, even if I put a bunch of zeros. What if I do this?
No.
Is the value now still 15?
No.
No, now it's something like this, right? 100,015. The same goes on the other side of the decimal. If I put a 1 here, I can put as many zeros as I want here, and the value is still the same until I put another number. Now the value is not the same anymore. It's the same exact thing as on the other side of the decimal in the other direction. Okay? And the reason is, I need you to stop checking out. The reason is just this right here, like I showed you. It's equivalent fractions. This fraction is equivalent to this fraction. They're still the same fraction. And you can write it like this, right? That's 1/10. Or you can write it like that, which is 10 hundredths, and it's still the same fraction. It's still the same value. This is still a dime. This is still a dime. I could do this, and it's still only just a dime. Okay, let's go back to y. Okay, so we already know that this equals this because we did it right here. 10 100ths and 1/10. 1/10, 10 100ths. Okay, what if I did 100 1,000s? Do you think it's still the same?
Yeah.
Yes, it is, because I can divide this by 100 and I get 1, and I can divide this by 100 and I get 10. It's still 1/10. And what this looks like in a decimal is this.
That's it.
Are you seeing a pattern?
Mm-hmm.
That really it's not mattering how many zeros I add?
Yeah.
It's still going to equal. The only time it becomes not true as soon as you add a digit with a value. Now all of a sudden that means something different. Because now that's saying 101 1,000ths. Is that the same as 1/10? No. So then it becomes something different. Okay? So, back to this. This 1/10 still equals 0.1. And we're going to go more into that later. I just wanted to show you. So if I have 20 100ths and I put it in my place value chart right here, the 2 is going to go here. So as a decimal, it's going to look like 0.20. Again, thinking about money, you guys understand money pretty well. If you think about money, 20 100ths is like saying 20 cents. Like 20 pennies. Because pennies are a hundredth. Remember this back here?
Yes.
This is 100. 20 of those is like saying 20 cents. Let me show you too. It also looks like this. When you guys were doing your tenths yesterday, didn't one strip equal to tenth, right? So 2 strips would equal 2 tenths, which would look like this. Or 0.20, like 20 cents when you're writing money. So if you have 31 hundredths, raise your hand if you think you know what that would look like. 31 hundredths, what would that look like as a decimal? 0.30. Go ahead and write it in. Could it also look like this?
Yes.
It could also look like that. It doesn't matter how many zeros there are. It still means the same thing.
You have like 20 zeros, it still be the same.
Okay. So I want you to try 40 hundredths on your own and then stop. Okay, so what did you guys get?
0.40 or 4.
Goes 0.40 or 0.4. I'm not putting the 0 in front of it. It's really taking up a lot of space, but you would just put 0.4. Okay? Go ahead and finish your number line. 51 hundredths looks like
0.50.
Okay, and 61 hundredths will look like
0.60.
perfect. 91 hundredths will look like
0.90.
I was just checking to see if you were paying attention. All right, Shane, what does 80 hundredths look like?
0.8.
Okay, Emil, what does 78 hundredths look like?
0.70.
There we go. Okay, so it says which fraction name or which decimal names the same amount as 1/100th. Who could tell me again what that looks like? 1/100th, Brian. I want you to tell me the digits across. Tara. No, not 0.10. Jaden. There you go. That's 1/100th. And when we go back up to the top where it says the winning time was 1/100th, the 1/100th looks like in decimal 0.01. That's 1/100th. All right, go ahead and finish filling in your paper. All right, Alicia won her 400-meter freestyle race by 4 and 25 1/100th seconds. How can you write this mixed number as a decimal? So, how many holes do I have? I want you to think about the question and raise your hand when you know. How many holes do I have? 4. So I'm going to shade, and just quickly, kind of like I am, shade 4 holes of these boxes. What fraction am I going to shade of this last one? How many squares? Raise your hand when you know. How many squares am I going to shade on this last one, Christine? 25. And wait, I don't want you to shade it. When I shade it, what will it look like? Who can explain to me in words if I was a little kid doing this? How much should I shade, Horace? 2/10. And what would that look like on here? Okay, so 2 whole things down. And then half of the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should look like that. So writing this is going to look like 4 in the ones place because those are 4 whole numbers. Then I have my decimal because now I'm going to do my fraction. And how much is my fraction? 25 hundredths. 25 hundredths looks like that. Because, and I'm not going to really explain until I get down here to my place value chart. Because in my place value chart, if I put the 25 hundredths here, remember when we're doing a place value chart, we don't have 2 digits in each place. We move one over. And the reason is, when you look at my fraction up here, do you see that I have 2/10 shaded? Thinking about yesterday, when you had a 10th, it was a whole strip. This is why I did this one. I have a whole strip and a whole nother strip. That looks like this, doesn't it? Yesterday's work. Whole strip. This is a whole strip and this is a whole strip. So I know that the 2/10 is right there. And then I have 5 hundredths left over. And that's my 5 hundredths. So I really have 2/10 and 5/100. The 4 goes in the front, right here, at the ones. If you write it, it looks like this. And if you read it, it looks like 4 and 25/100. So we're going to put that on a number line. Remember, the number line can be set. It doesn't have to always start at 0. In this case, it's starting at 4 and 0/100, and it's going to 5 and 0/100. Okay? So whenever you look at a number line, if it's already set up for you, you should look at how it's set up. Okay. At the 4 and 0/100, it would look like this. It's kind of like $4 and no cents, right? It would look like that. And at the 5 and 0/100, it would look like this. So it looks like $5. Now, if we have 4 and 10/100, who thinks they know what that will look like on when I write it down here in decimal form, in number and decimal form? Lydia. 4 point. Correct. 4.10. Remember, 10/100 is the same as 1/10. Remember? It's just like this, taking the zeros off. Okay, 4 and 10/100. What is 4 and 20/100 going to look like? Angeli. 4.20. What is 4 and 30/100 going to look like, Antonio?
4.30.
4.30. Angeli, what's my next one? 40. I meant Angelica, but I said Angeli again. Daniel, what's the next one going to look like? 4.85. Shane, what's the next one going to look like? 4.60. Malia, the next one?
4.70.
Okay. Next one, Areli.
4.80.
Okay. And the last one, Nicholas. 4.90. Okay. Now, our number is 4.25, so it's going to be between 20 and 30. 25/100 is between 20/100 and 30/100. So in here, we're going to put our 4.25 right in the middle. Because if I was counting, I'd say 20 is right here. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 is right there. Okay? So again, 4.25 is 4 and 25/100, names the same as 4 and 25/100. Shade the model to show 31/100. The best way to do that again is to do how many straight down?
3.
Who said 3? That's right. Why is it 3? Right, there's 30/100, which also is the same thing as 3/10. So we're going to do 3. Am I going to do any more?
Yes.
How many more?
1.
Just one more. Go ahead and do yours real quick. Okay, if we write that in the number chart over here, place value chart, we would be writing 31/100 like this. So when we write this amount as a decimal, it looks like 0.31 or 31/100. Number 2 says write the fraction or mixed number and the decimal shown by the model. So we're going to write the fraction and the decimal. So looking at this, I want you to count how many tenths are actually shown here. Go ahead and do it. Raise your hand when you can tell me. How many tenths? Just the tenths. Ronnie, how many tenths? So there's 6/10. So if I was writing it as a decimal, I know I'm going to have 6/10. And then how many leftover hundredths are there?
0.
Nope, there's extra. Haley. There's 8. So if I count these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 68/100. which would look like, if I was just counting these first, I'd say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Count the ones, 68 hundredths. Or I can count them like this. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, and then the 8 hundredths that are not part of the tenths. Whichever works for you. All right, what is the fraction that you guys had? Owen. How many? 8 100ths. And Ethan, what does that look like? Tell me from 0. 0, 0.8. How many of you agree with Ethan? Okay. Say this like we did yesterday. This is called 8/10. There are no tenths shaded here, are there? That's kind of why I had you do it that way over here. What should it look like, Lydia? 0.8. 8 hundredths. Okay. And when I did this, I did how many tenths are there, and then I wrote it. And then I said how many hundredths are there. You do the same thing here. How many tenths are there? 0. How many leftover hundredths are there? There's 8. Okay. On this one, I have a blue dot right here. Okay. I know that I have a whole number. What's my whole number? 6. Okay. Do I have at least 10 hundredths?
No.
Yes, because here's the 10 hundredths right here. Do I have at least 20 hundredths?
No.
Here's 20 hundredths. Am I to the 20 hundredths?
No.
No, I'm not there yet. So I had 10, so I'm going to put I know there's 10. Then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 19 hundredths. Or 6 point what, class? 6.19. Are 0.5 and 0.50. Are they the same? Are they equivalent? Are they equivalent, Sophia?
Yes.
Yes, they are. Let's look at this. I'm going to use this one up here. This is 50 100ths, right? And what is this one called? 5 tenths. Sorry. Right? This is 50 100ths and this is 5 tenths. So I'm going to shade 50 of these. There's 50 100ths. You guys agreeing with me so far?
Yes.
What about if I wanted to count those in tenths? How many tenths are there?
5.
So they are equal.